Hello and welcome to the Catalyst Show. My name is Penny Wangari Jones, and with me today I've got Sarai and Boara. Say hello.
Hello.
And yeah, today this week, obviously, there's several things going on and this month, but for the show or for the sake, we'll be covering and talking about Race Equality Week and what it means for us and what we see around us. And we'll also be talking about the LGBT History Month because February is. And again, with that, we'll be kind of giving our views on what we observe and what we think and understand for this to be. But before we do, I'll let both Sarai and Boara say a quick hello and then we'll begin. Sarai, over to you.
Cool. Hello, I'm Sarai. I'm part of RGN team. I'll be talking about, I guess, one of the key events that is going on this month. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Hi guys. So my name is Boara. I'm also part of RGN, and I'm going to be contributing to the discussions that we're going to be having today. And just like Sarai, happy to be here, excited for Race Equality Week.
Thank you both, and thank you for availing yourself for this. I know how busy, again, I should also add, I'm also part of the Racial Justice Network team, but yeah, I know how busy things are and what we're all involved in. So just for showing up and being available to contribute in this discussion is good, and yeah, gratitude for that. So to kick us off, we will start, we'll do this show in two parts. The beginning part will be about the Race Equality Week, and then the second part will be the LGBT History Month. So, and I think we felt, maybe just as a background, it felt important to at least have a conversation about what race equality means for us, but also as an organization called the Racial Justice Network, it felt like it's not fair or right that we if we're completely vacant. So I'm interested with you both to share if there is anything that you've observed, anything that you've seen around this week that relates to, and I'm aware obviously there's a lot of activities happening, including in Bradford, where the show is played. But yeah, if you've been involved in anything or seen anything, including on social media. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. So with Race Equality Week, I don't see much happening in Leeds, which is, I guess, where I'm from, by the way, for anyone listening. I'm sure there is, but there hasn't been much focus or attention on it this week. And with my job role at RGN being comms, I'm on social media a lot, and I'm not actually seeing a lot of people talk about Race Equality Week. And I don't know, it's quite disheartening really, because you would think from previous years that people would kind of shift their focus on what's important. And I think Race Equality Week is not just about acknowledging Black and Brown and other minoritized communities. I think it's about acknowledging, I guess, other aspects of things. So I'm thinking about union strikes. There's a lot of Black and Asian key workers that are striking, but as well, some of them can't, I guess, necessarily strike in terms of taking a time off. And I don't know, I'm just seeing it from my perspective, because I saw a few people striking outside the hospital yesterday, and I didn't see any Black workers, and it kind of just taps into little things. And I think what I'm trying to say is that Race Equality Week should be bigger than what it is, and it should tap into different things, including diversity, including acknowledging there is tokenism that goes on in certain places, and just kind of holding people accountable for that. But yeah, I'm not really seeing much of that happening which is a bit unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I live in Halifax, West Yorkshire, and I haven't seen anything going on for Race Equality Week. Online though, I see a lot of that, especially this week. I've seen advocates, engaging and trying to stay connected and to foster that racial equality through activities and connecting with people with lived experience and sharing their stories onto their platforms and stuff like that. But in person, sadly, no, I haven't seen anything at all, even in organizations that usually tend to contribute to that. Like I know the Peace Hall is usually always doing something, whether it's music or whether it's Refugee Week, but I haven't seen anything at all for Black equality, which is such a shame.
Right. That's interesting. And maybe it's interesting that the kind of like lack of visibility, but I find also that analysis around, obviously there's lots of strikes going around, and the fact that the visibility of either Black and brown folks or racialized communities or lack of tells a story in itself. It doesn't mean that people don't care. It doesn't mean that people don't work in those places. It might mean more to do with the environment, not just the hostile environment, but the environment and what the consequences could be. And I should add that when we were researching in terms of the origins of race equality, it was really interesting to see that it started in 2021. And that for me was like, that tells something, because we know with the 2020, the murder of George Floyd and the resurgence of Black Lives Matter and those conversations, there was a lot of, maybe people vowing to do things, a lot of actions that were people offered to do. And then as an organization, Racial Justice Network, we have seen a drop, not only in terms of the appetite for some of these conversations, is also those promises that were made, like that energy is gone and those promises have not been met. So I wonder whether this is also part of that, the fact that it's 2 years on, and also how late it would have been to do Race Equality Week. So for me, and I should add that there has been conversations I've had with other colleagues, and I'll read like a quote from Mama D, who's like one of our sibling organizations for the Racial Justice Network, but also a friend and somebody who works very closely, understands these issues. So I read their input too. But for me, I think there is kind of two ways to. I've been looking at it in two angles of the virtue signaling and the very performative aspects of it. So this calling to and doing actions, because the origins, as he said, was about employers. It was started mainly to kind of create working solutions for organizations who work in this, to be more inclusive and to be more equal. And those things for me are the things I actually question about what that is, what is not just inclusive, but also equal to what, equal to who. If it came then, it came obviously on the back of 2020, which would have been too late anyway. And then if already the energy is dropping, it says something, but there's an angle around not necessarily saying to people who are the few who are doing stuff, including our friends and maybe sibling organizations around, including in Bradford. It's not to say not to do anything. I think there's something around questioning why they're doing or what it actually means. Because if it's a case of let's call people in, or Black and brown folk in, and let's talk about it, and there's actually no action following these discussions or tangible outcomes of these discussions, then it is performative and it's virtue signaling of we're calling it this. So it's not necessarily saying let's not do anything. Let's not take any action. But I want to read one part, and this is a discussion that we were having as well, about when we talk about equality, what do we mean? And this again takes me back to some time that I worked, not just with the like equality forums and insisting on equity being added to, because when we talk about equality, we, even if we're given same opportunities, as long as there's no acknowledgement of the point which we're starting from, it means there's something that we're missing still. We're not able to achieve the same way because we're not starting from an equal point of view. So Race Equality Week, are we talking about equal to what? And are we considering other factors like what Sarah, you were mentioning about who's visible, who isn't, but also who's involved, even the organizations that are necessarily working with minoritized communities that are not doing anything? What does that actually mean? So Mamadi was questioning equality and how is the quote was, what we could and should be questioning is to reestablish new ethics and morality of what it means to be human between ourselves. We can learn how to define for ourselves what is human and not how to become equal with those who've determined that we are not as human as they are. So for instance, what does it mean for an African to be equal in culture to those who consider themselves not African? And there was question also, and again, this is discussions we've had about, even when you talk about economic equality, whether we're simply converting to adapting the capacity to exploit others, because again, when we think about economic and capitalism, it's about exploiting. So whether we're asking to become equal and convert our ways of doing to a capacity to exploit others and the earth. So there's a lot that, in terms of, I know I'm kind of like now going almost to theory, but there's something around why we're doing what we're doing and what this means. But I wonder whether, in terms of, again, maybe as an endpoint, because I've spoken for quite a bit, whether there is anything that you could offer in terms of not only the origins of race equality or the purpose, but what we perceive it to be right now, from both of you, whether you've got any thoughts.
Yeah. Well, race equality for me is when institutions, whether it's healthcare, education, housing, provides equal opportunities to individuals of all races, regardless of their skin color. I know historically, institutions haven't attained equality for ethnic minorities. Like, this hasn't been easy to attain. But racial equality ensures that people from all walks of life can compete fairly for the same opportunities, and as a result, better outcomes will be obtained, since, the most capable individuals will emerge victorious regardless of their ethnic backgrounds or their skin color and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's everybody to have the same equal opportunities, the same playing field as well, to ensure that everybody's treated the same and given the same opportunities. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Wara. Like, while she were saying that, I was kind of like thinking about like all like the medical biases that you get like racially, like how Black women, for example, are more likely to be ignored if they've got like a medical problem.
Yes.
And I think I want to know like why Race Equality Week was actually created, and like what the actual, like, I guess, reasoning was for it, like what the true reasoning was for it, and what angle are they focusing on? Because clearly, like, you would think now, after like 2 years, it would be a big global thing. To me personally, you'd think it goes into like different aspects of life, but it's not. So I think it's interesting to think like, why was it created? Was it just a bit of activism from a group of people? And what about everybody else? But yeah, like Wara said, housing and things need to be addressed if we're going to be talking about Race Equality Week. Yeah.
And I think as well, Sarah, that it's horrendous that it was only created 2 years ago, because I wasn't aware. Like, what has been done to promote racial equality in all that time? Like, because I'm aware that the first legislation in the UK was the Race Relations Act, founded in 1965. But all that time, what has really been done to promote racial equality, and why only 2 years ago do we have a racial equality with, you know what I mean? Since 1965, we still continue to see, racial discrimination due to race, skin color, ethnic groups, and all that, especially in the public now with social media. But what really is in place to be done to hold these people accountable, and to kind of like ensure that these incidents are not happening as often as we're seeing them happen in real time?
Yeah, I think with like from a social media perspective, a lot of people will say that they're doing things and will perform things to get validation from people online, but it takes more than social media to actually do these practices and to actually go into these communities and talk to the actual people that are supposed to be supported. Instead of just being like, hey, we're doing Race Equality Week. So I think even us having this conversation right now, kind of, I guess we're not critiquing it, but we're kind of like dissecting it to what it actually is. And our reflections on what it actually should be is doing more than a social media post. Like even when you said, Penny, like with like the social media stuff, I didn't want to just do a post and people like it. I want people to listen to this and be like, you know what, like this is a good reflection tool. And even like maybe in a year's time or like 6 months' time, we can look back on it. It's something to look back on instead of like kind of repeating the same old thing that everyone else does on Instagram or on Twitter or online. Yeah.
No, thank you both so much. I think the critique is out there because, as I said, it was a campaign started to address barriers to race equality in the workplace, and what I'm hearing is not enough. And I think this is also the challenge that we've had as an organization of the issues around racism or racialism are in every facet. They're embodied and embedded in so many things. So trying to address it just in the workplace without looking at the other factors is not enough. And that's why the examples that you've offered there. But thank you so much for your contributions and your views. I'll